So hey anime fans. Their series name is What If Naruto Was in Inuyasha Universe. This is second part of the series. So let's start the series. Sesshomaru looked up at the great fox now standing in front of him. Sesshomaru whimpered in his demon dog form, his ears flat on his head, barely able to comprehend the power of the being before him. Realizing he looked like a coward, Sesshomaru let out a bark followed by a growl toward the fox. Naruto growled back at Sesshomaru, then brought his paw to his mouth, licking his neon green fur. Turning his attention back to Sesshomaru, who suddenly launched himself at Naruto, swiping him with his claws, only to watch the deep wounds he created across the snout of Naruto immediately close up without letting so much as a drop of blood free. Unable to believe what he just saw, Sesshomaru leapt at Naruto, who didn't make any type of move to get out of the way, allowing Sesshomaru to bite Naruto on the front right leg. With the advantage, Sesshomaru ripped at Naruto's leg in an attempt to take it off. However, the realization soon hit Sesshomaru. Even though he bit down on Naruto as hard as he possibly could, neither his lower nor his upper teeth had pierced the flesh of the green fox. Stunned, Sesshomaru went back to tearing at Naruto's leg, which distracted him from 6 of Naruto's 12 tails hitting his side, sending him skidding 50 feet from his former position. Naruto watched as Sesshomaru struggled to his feet, which surprised the great fox demon since his tails carry a small amount of his power in them. In fact, the last demon he hit with them was vaporized. Knowing he should end this quickly, Naruto leapt into the air toward Sesshomaru, who moved back to avoid the large fox from landing on top of him as he fell back to earth. Sesshomaru was unable to avoid the blow to his front leg from Naruto's claws, which sent the dog demon down again. Sesshomaru slowly tried to get back to his feet, only to have Naruto put a paw on his back, causing the fox demon's claws to dig into Sesshomaru's back. You know, Sesshomaru, I hoped when you were born you'd take after your father, but I see so much of your mother in you right now. Your mother found out the same thing the same way you are, which is I am not to be taken lightly. Your father knew this, why don't you? Naruto growled at Sesshomaru, who got back to his feet, blood running from the wound on his back. Sesshomaru launched wildly at Naruto, who merely side-stepped him, then hind-kicked him, sending him backward, only to have his momentum suddenly stopped by one of Naruto's tail, which extended and wrapped around the weakening dog demon's throat. Sesshomaru was then slammed roughly into the ground with such force he created a small crater. Back with Midoriko and Kahaku. The duo was stunned when they saw Naruto's true form. Midoriko heard stories when she was a child, and during her Miko training she never expected her lover to be Green Fox. Midoriko knew she should be terrified, though for some odd reason his true form, his power, and the fact he was transformed turned her on. She'd definitely be getting him alone tonight. On the other hand, Kahaku stood in completely fear. He heard of the power of Inari, but to actually be a witness to it was something entirely different. Kahaku began to wonder how Inari kept such a degree of power hidden away. Kahaku actually felt himself becoming more loyal to Inari, as he understood it'd be easy for Inari to rule over demons and humans alike, though he chose to walk among them. Kahaku knew if Inari was anything like Naruto, the world would already be under his control. It was at that point Kahaku decided he would follow Inari to the ends of the earth. As Kahaku watched Inari dominate Sesshomaru, he began to wonder about his sister. Kahaku knew Sango would be weary of Inari the moment she saw him. Demons which possessed great power always caused Sango to panic. The unknown was the biggest fear his sister had. He hoped he could explain to Sango how Inari was before they met, otherwise there was a very real chance his sister would die. Midoriko glanced at the young boy Naruto brought with them. She knew he was a demon slayer, so he'd automatically earned points in her book. However, she wasn't going to start throwing her trust around so easily. Midoriko had a feeling, even though she wasn't able to confirm it, there were people trying to take down her fox. Something couldn't or wouldn't allow to happen. These thoughts caused Midoriko to turn her focus to the sky in wonder, drawing her attention to what appeared to be a large feather hovering in the sky. Confused as to what Midoriko was looking at, Kahaku followed her gaze to a feather in the sky, which meant only one thing: Kagura. Feeling the shift in Kahaku's demeanor, Midoriko demanded to know what was wrong. Priestess Midoriko, the feather you see in the sky is one of Naruto's minions. Naruto is the one who controlled me before Inari-sama saved me, Kahaku explained. Noticing the sadness in the voice of her travel companion, Midoriko reached to her side to draw a weapon, only to remember she didn't have any. Luckily, Naruto was finished with Sesshomaru, whose eyes were closed, signifying the dog demon was unconscious. Midoriko watched Naruto look around before settling on their location as he transformed back to his human form. Midoriko quickly made her way to Naruto. While using her right hand at her side to signal Kahaku not move, slowly Midoriko gave Naruto a hug, allowing her to whisper in the fox demon's ear. Naruto stepped away from Midoriko, then looked up at Kagura, who went to run only to be hit by something and knocking the feather from under, sending her to the ground into the waiting arms of Naruto. Kagura made a move to grab her fan only to be hit from behind as darkness took over her. Kagura saw the black-haired woman and what appeared to be Kahaku stand beside the blonde fox demon. Even though Kagura was at the mercy of her captives, one thought ran through Kagura's mind: he's strong enough to free me from Naruto. The three looked down at the unconscious Kagura, never noticing the Samyosho watching from a distance. So she's with this Naruto who possess a good deal of the jewel, right Kahaku? Naruto asked. Yes, Inari-sama, but even though she is a demon, Naruto forces her to work for him against her will, Kahaku answered. Doesn't matter, she needs to be dealt with, I can take care of her from this range. Naruto, Midoriko suggested, only to be stopped by Naruto. Wait, I have a better idea. Naruto rolled up his sleeve, revealing what looked to be markings. However, this thought was dispelled when Naruto bit his finger, then swiped the finger over his marks, causing a scroll to appear. Smirking at their surprised faces, Naruto opened the scroll. He then started drawing on it. Once he was finished, Naruto did a few hand signs before touching the scroll, and Kagura sealing said demon into said scroll. Where did she go? How did you do that? Midoriko asked. Sealing, I can do it, Naruto explained with a wink toward Midoriko. Well, since that is taken care of, let's go to the nearest town to pick up some clothes and weapons for Midoriko, and you as well if you want any. Kahaku. With that, the three left a beaten and broken dog demon behind. With Naruto frowned at what he just saw and heard. First, Kagura was put into some scroll which probably protected her from him. Second, and most importantly, the demon he seemed to be on a collision course with happened to be the legendary Inari. Naruto, like everyone else, heard stories about Inari but simply pasted them off to be just stories. Another thing he noticed was Kahaku was with Inari. Naruto felt different a while back but thought nothing of it as he was concerned with destroying Kikyu. However, he now knew it was because of Inari breaking the hold he had over Kahaku, something which angered him, as this was his one big leverage against Inuyasha should things go back for him. As the gears in Naruto's mind started turning, he realized he could use Inari to destroy Inuyasha. All he had to do was let Inuyasha's group know Kahaku was being controlled by an even bigger threat than himself, which of course was Inari. Hakudoshi, I want you to forget about Kikyu for now. Instead, I want you to go to Inuyasha's group and inform them of Sango's brother now being under the control of Inari, Naruto said with a smirk. Do you really believe Inuyasha will be able to stop what we just felt? Hakudoshi asked. Of course not, but I do believe Inari will kill Inuyasha and his group, especially if he was able to deal with Sesshomaru so easily. Hakudoshi quickly took off, leaving Naruto to his thoughts. Once Inuyasha's out of the way, I can focus on Kikyu, then Inari. If I'm extremely lucky, both groups will take one other out. With Totosai and Myoga. Myoga sat across from Totosai, who was working on a sword. Noticing the sword was nowhere near the quality of what Totosai usually makes caused Myoga to start the conversation they both knew was coming. So why do you think Inari-sama has resurfaced now? Myoga asked, resulting in Totosai halting his work, something he always did when talking about Inari. Who knows, that old fox works in mysterious ways. I'm more worried about Inutasho's sons, Totosai answered, with Myoga nodding his head sagely. I agree, if either one of them meets up with Inari with their attitudes, they're finished. I don't know about that though, I know the beating he'd give them would be pretty bad, Totosai responded. If they were smart they would do what Inutasho-sama did. That takes me back, seeing our master ordered around was quite amusing, Totosai mused. I'll always remember it as the first time I had some of the best blood ever. Flashback. Inutasho-sama, may I ask where we are going? Myoga questioned from his spot on Inutasho's shoulder. I guess it would only be fair to let you and Totosai decide if you wish to continue. I am going to find Inari and request he train me, Inutasho explained, ignoring the protests from Myoga and Totosai. But Inutasho-sama, don't you think your father could train you? I mean, he's actually real. Totosai chuckled, only to shut his mouth the moment Inutasho's gaze was upon him. First, Inari is real, in fact I know where he is at this moment. Second, my father and I don't get along too well, you two know this. Old fool has the nerve to say he's stronger than Inari and humans should line up to be devoured by us. The group stopped at a mountain which appeared to reach into the clouds. Totosai sighed as he grabbed onto the back of Inatasho, who began his descent up the mountain the hard way. The reason being he was told to do it no other way, as apparently other demons climbed it using their demonic powers only to be repelled off the mountain halfway up, which was always painful. As Inatasho continued his climb, he was forced to deal with Totosai yelling in his ear on 4 different occasions that he was falling or he was losing his grip. After a 12-hour climb, Inatasho reached the top of the mountain. The first thing he did was toss Totosai to the ground, who mumbled something about no respect. As they let everything soak in, the 3 noticed how big the mountain was and the fact there was a tower in front of them. This cannot be happening. There is no way we are going to meet the legendary demon Inari, Totosai said as they walked to the front tower. Inatasho opened the door, which revealed what looked to be a man sitting in the middle of the tower meditating intensely. Totosai and Myoga quickly moved behind Inatasho as they could feel the depth of the power coming from what they knew was Inari. Excuse me, Inari-sama, forgive me for interrupting, but my name is Inatasho. I am here to receive training from you if you'll have me. Inari's eyes quickly shot open. Damn, I was at my personal best of 15 years of solid meditation. Look kid, I'm flattered really, but why don't you come back in a decade, okay? Please, I don't want to be just another demon, I want to make a difference. You can help me do that. Inari made his way over to the 3, then with a smirk used telekinesis to push them out of the tower. He then waved to them as the door shut. Totosai and Myoga quickly began to fuss over Inatasho, who sat up slowly. So that was Inari? Totosai asked. His power was incredible, Myoga added. And you two wanted to make fun of him. Now I have to find some way to make him train me, Inatasho said to no one in particular. Is it wise to continue bothering him, my lord? He may not be so nice next time, Myoga pointed out. I don't care, you two felt his power, just think of what he could help me achieve. But sire, how do you expect to get him to train you? Totosai asked. Ignoring the 2, Inatasho made his way to the door before knocking 3 times. When he received no answer, he knocked again, only this time continuously. After 30 minutes or so of knocking, the door flew open, revealing Inari. Only this time, 10 tails swayed erratically behind him. What do you want? Inari roared, his voice echoing through the tower. I'm Inatasho, I wish to become your student. I'm not really in the market for a student, besides should your parents be teaching you, Inari suggested. I don't agree with my father, I don't want to destroy and force beings to bow down to me just because I have the power to. Inari stared at Inatasho. He wouldn't say he reminded him of himself, however. What did excite him about the young demon before him was the fire in his eyes. Inari also respected the intelligences of Inatasho. Now he just needed to know how far the dog demon was willing to go to receive training from him. Well, that's all well and good, but I've heard plenty of sad stories throughout my life. If those are your only reasons, you should just go home, Inari said as he began to shut the door. I believe humans and demons don't need to enemies, but with the way things are I can do nothing about it. With his face hidden behind the door, Inari smirked. He'd been waiting for those words from many demons who sought him out. Most, however, simply spout off about how they wanted to destroy all humans or control all other demons. Inatasho watched as the door was opened to reveal the smiling face of Inari. I think kid, I can work with you, so you, your pest, and human friend can come in. Make sure you get some rest, your training will begin tomorrow, Inari said, ignoring said faces of Totosai and Myoga. Next day, break of dawn. Inatasho was resting soundly after being unable to fall asleep due to excitement. After he was shown his room, Inari told him they would begin training near midday, so he was given permission to sleep in. Poor Inatasho had forgotten Inari wasn't just a great demon, he was a fox demon known for his trickery, something Inatasho was about to figure out the hard way. In Inatasho's room, Inari stood next to his bed, unable to contain his giggling, which turned into full-blown laughter, when he dumped a bucket of water of the sleeping dog demon. Immediately Inatasho rose up, looking around to see his new teacher yelling and pointing at him to get outside. Quickly the dog demon got dressed before making his way outside. Alright, listen up kid, you will run around this tower 100,000 times in 1 hour. If you don't, you're through and I'll kick you off this mountain, Inari said, causing Inatasho to smirk as he began his transformation. Oh, did I forget to mention you have to do this in your current form. Staring at Inari in shock, Inatasho began dashing around the tower, which wasn't as big as he'd first thought. Inari simply sat down watching as the blur he now called his student dashed around the tower. Behind the powerful fox stood Totosai with Myoga on his shoulder. The two were currently whispering about said fox. Myoga, don't be greedy, besides you said it earlier, Inari-sama may be extremely upset to have his blood sucked, Totosai explained. I know, but the blood of Inatasho-sama is so good, just imagine how good Inari-sama's must taste. With that, Myoga jumped off Totosai's shoulder, making a direct beeline toward Inari. Once he was in range, Myoga leapt onto Inari's neck, sucking his blood. The moment Myoga tasted Inari's blood, he was sent into a high the likes of which he'd never experienced before. After he had his fill, Myoga fell over with a silly grin on his face, trying to comprehend what just happened to him. While Myoga went for a snack, Totosai went to hopefully get some answers from Inari. So Inari-sama, I was wondering what I should do with my master is training? Totosai asked. Inari glanced at him. He could tell this human had a faint level of chakra in him, not enough to do most ninja things. However, Inari knew if he could find out what element Totosai was, he'd be able to teach him how to use it to a small degree. Reaching into his robes, Inari pulled out a piece of paper, then handed it to Totosai. Inari placed his hand on Totosai's shoulder, forcing the human's chakra to the piece of paper. So you're a fire element, huh? Naruto thought as glanced at Totosai. As a matter of fact, there is. I'm going to help you use a power you don't even realize you have. But Inari-sama, what type of power could I possibly possess? I'm a human. You'll see. Good job, Inatasho, you're already at 550, though it's a shame you're not even halfway there yet. Flashback over. With Inuyasha's group, the six sat next to a lake just outside of a nearby town, because Sango needed some quick repairs done to her weapon. The group was currently on their way to a lead on Naruto's whereabouts, and the town happened to be on the way. So Miroku suggested they stock up on supplies, which meant him performing a fake exorcism. So Inuyasha, this informant has Naruto's exact whereabouts? Sango asked. From what I've been told, he knows where Naruto's castle was. I doubt it's still there, but who knows, we may get lucky with both Naruto along with the castle still being there, and we get a chance to ambush Naruto when he least expects it, Inuyasha answered while grabbing Shippo, who was trying to take some of Inuyasha's food. The more likely scenario is we find clues as to where Naruto is setting up next from the old castle, Miroku explained as he ignored the "sit" commanded yelled out by Kagome. But the most important thing is Kahaku. How do we deal with Naruto without him killing Kahaku or having Naruto use him against us? Kagome asked. Maybe we can try to capture Kahaku the next time Naruto we meet him, Shippo suggested while dancing on Inuyasha's back. Or I could tell you where to find him, Hakadoshi said, causing the group to leap to their feet and grab their respective weapons. Hakadoshi smirked as he put up his hands in mock surrender, confusing the group. The reason I'm here is to tell you Naruto no longer has Kahaku under his control, instead he is now under the control of Inari. Upon hearing this, Kirara jumped from the shoulder of Sango, then surprised everyone by transform and growling wickedly at Hakadoshi. Sango stepped forward hoping to calm her partner, only to move back as Kirara continued to aggressively move toward Hakadoshi. Sango, I suggest you get your pet before I put it. Strike it down where it stands, Hakadoshi said, drawing his weapon. If you want to find Inari, he's north of your position. With that, Hakadoshi vanished, leaving the group to contemplate what they just heard along with what they were going to do. Miroku reasoned it was convenient of Hakadoshi show up when they were close to a lead on Naruto, which Inuyasha agreed with. Sango immediately suggested they go after and kill Inari, which Kagome agreed with. However, no seemed to take Kirara's feelings into consideration as said demon took off toward the north, ignoring the calls of Sango. Where's she going? Inuyasha asked. She must be going to kill Inari. Kirara has always been closer to Kahaku than me, Sango explained as she took off toward the village with Kagome and Shippo in hot pursuit. Inuyasha, we should follow them, Miroku yelled while looking at the direction the girls went. No, we need to find Naruto. You said it yourself, it could be a trick. For all we know, Kahaku is still under the control of Naruto. With that, Inuyasha took off toward the south, Miroku reluctantly following him. With Naruto, Midoriko stepped out of the hut wearing the same outfit she wore before her death, though it had a few moderations. First, her armor was 10 times stronger thanks to special seals Naruto added. The color of the armor was a dark blue. Second, the fabric her clothes were made of was actually mystical because it was impossible to rip. The color of the clothes were orange, something Naruto felt was very attracting on Midoriko. Third, The mirror-like buckle belt which connected the armor served as a holding place for her current and future weapons. As of this moment Midoriko's only weapons were a bow and arrow with plenty of extra arrows in the seal. To finish off the outfit Naruto got Midoriko a pair of ninja sandals. Midoriko's her hair which reached the top of her but when free was now in a high ponytail which revealed her beauty and the jewel on her forehead. Midoriko allowed a smile to come over her face as she looked at herself. Seeing his lover was satisfied with her new clothes, Naruto turned to Kahaku whose gaze was directed toward the sky. "Hey kid, something the matter?" "Well Inari-sama, if it's not too much, could we make a small detour to inform my sister that I am longer under the control of Naruto? It's something which has bothered me for a while," Kahaku stated as Midoriko made her way to Naruto's side. "Well Midoriko, I'll leave this decision up to you. We can look for his sister or we search for more jewel shards," Naruto explained while Midoriko glanced over at Kahaku. "Alright, we may be able to find some of the shards on the way," Midoriko answered. "Thank you Priestess Midoriko." Already knowing Kahaku's scent, Naruto attempted to track a scent similar to Kahaku's. After 5 minutes of searching he smelt a scent coming toward them from the south. The group left the village heading south until Naruto stopped, causing Kahaku and Midoriko to stop as well. "Naruto, what's the matter?" Midoriko asked. No one got the chance to answer as all three were knocked over by a large cat demon which proceeded to lick every one of their faces, though Midoriko and Kahaku received the bulk of the licking. Once they were let up, Midoriko actually hugged her demon friend while Kahaku did the same, causing the two to look at each other. "Priestess Midoriko, you know Kirara?" Kahaku questioned. "Of course, she was my partner for many years. She was also my only link to Naruto after we parted ways." "How do you know her?" "She rescued a member of our village years ago, so we offered her to stay with us," Kahaku responded. "Does she have a name? I don't remember you ever giving her one." Midoriko? Naruto asked Midoriko, who shook her head. "I never had a need to. She was always there, so I didn't have to call her. We call her Kirara and she hasn't seemed to disagree," Kahaku explained. After they got the Kirara name part settled, Naruto suggested they continue with their quest to find Sango. The moment she heard this, Kirara jumped in front of Naruto. Kahaku made an attempt to find out what was wrong, however Kirara continued to try and nudge Naruto in the other direction. Midoriko got down on her knees, then turned Kirara's attention to her, looking deep into the cat demon's eyes. After a couple of moments Midoriko stood with her hand scratching behind Kirara's ears. "She's saying there's trouble coming from the way we're going," Midoriko explained as Kirara mewed softly under her old mistress' touch. "How did you know that?" Naruto asked. "Well, she kept you from trying to go that way, plus we built a connection about 2 months after she and I parted ways from you." Kahaku quickly suggested he go confront his sister by himself, everyone's safety. Naruto however didn't believe that was a good idea. However, before he could say as much, a large boomerang came right at him. The boomerang knocked down trees which were in front of it, but when it hit Naruto's hand the momentum of the boomerang was stopped completely. Naruto, not paying attention, missed the sacred arrow following behind the path of the boomerang. Luckily for the fox demon, his lover didn't and was able to catch arrow inches before it Naruto in the shoulder. The group looked toward the path the arrow and boomerang came from to see 2 girls. One had an extremely short skirt on with a long sleeve top, the second wore a black and pink form-fitting outfit. "Who are you? Why have you attacked us unprovoked?" Naruto yelled to the girls. "You dare to act innocent, demon, when you have my brother under your control." "Brother, so this is Kahaku's sister then," Naruto thought as he watched Sango charge him. Sango drew her sword, slashing at Naruto, who simply leaned back. Sango quickly followed it with another which Naruto blocked with his bare hand, shocking the demon slayer. Sango leapt away from Naruto, who kept his eyes on her until the sound of an arrow passing through the air made him turn to the other girl who'd shot a second arrow. However, Kahaku used his Kuzurigama sickle end to destroy the arrow. "Demon, release my brother at once before I am forced to destroy you," Sango warned. "Sister, stop it. Inari-sama saved me from Naruto. He was going to help me find you so I could tell you this, but here you are attacking him for no reason." "Kahaku, I'm sorry, I thought." Sango started only to be interrupted. "You thought because I chose to travel with a demon I was under his control. Kahaku, you're not acting like yourself, and I believe this demon is the reason why. For your safety he must be destroyed." Sango, wait, listen to your brother. This demon hasn't even made an aggressive move toward us. Kagome yelled toward Sango. Kagome the demon is fooling you as well. I guess I have no choice but to do this myself. Sango charged Naruto, her sword drawn ready to end the demon and get her brother back to the way he used to be when they were in their village together. As Sango reached Naruto, she was kicked in the side, sending her to the ground. Enraged, Sango got back to her feet to see Kahaku standing between her and Naruto. How dare you, demon, force my own flesh and blood to attack me? Now your death will be twice as painful. Sango yelled. Sick of this, Naruto used his speed to appear in front of Sango before she could make a move, stunning the female demon slayer. Sango stared into the eyes of the demon, who simply looked at her with what she felt was pity. Enraged further, Sango leapt at Naruto. Sango kept her eyes on Naruto, who seemed to vanish only to reappear behind Sango, and with a quick chop to the neck put Sango in dreamland. Annoyed at what happened, Naruto turned to the second girl, who was loading another arrow. When she looked up to fire it, her demon target was gone. Looking around, she felt a presence behind before darkness ruled her world. Naruto looked back at Midoriko, who gave him a look, wondering what he was going to do. Glancing at Kahaku, Naruto noticed he was stroking the side of his sleeping sister's face while shaking his head. Okay, Kahaku, grab your sister, I'll take care of this one. Oh, and you can come out now, I know you're hiding, Naruto said, causing Kahaku to glance around. The moment those words left Naruto's mouth, he was shocked to find a small fox child bowing in front of him, the boy's face completely in the dirt. Midoriko peeked over the shoulder over Naruto to see what he'd been talking to. When she did, she found the cutest little fox boy bowing before Naruto. Now Midoriko was a calm, collected woman who'd seen many cute things and been able to hold herself back. However, confronted with the small demon fox in front of her was too much for her to ignore. With speed that made Naruto almost blink, Midoriko pushed past him, scooping the fox in her arms. Smirking, Naruto decided it would be best to head east. As Kahaku previously explained to Naruto, Naraku never stayed in one place longer than a month. The group made its way eastward, although Naruto had to pry the small fox demon away from the grip and bust of Midoriko before they left. So, small fox child, what is your name? Midoriko asked as said child and Kirara, in kitten form, hitched a ride on her shoulders. I'm Shippo. Are you going to hurt Sango and Kagome? No, despite what your friend wants to believe, I'm not evil, nor is Kahaku anymore. I was able to save his life. No longer does he have a need for any jewel shard. Naruto answered while adjusting the unconscious Kagome on his shoulder. So are you really Inari? Yes, I am. Then prove it. With a sigh, Naruto allowed his 12 tails and fox ears to become visible to Shippo, gasped in awe. Can you teach me how to be as powerful as you, Inari-sama? Maybe when you're older, Naruto answered while Midoriko simply giggled at the two fox demons. At Naraku's castle. Damn, we just missed him, Inuyasha said, only to move his head to his left, barely avoiding a scared arrow. Looking up, they saw Kikyu stand in front of them loading another arrow. Inuyasha, why is Kikyu attacking us? I don't know. Kikyu, stop, it's me. Inuyasha yelled to Kikyu, who approached them with an arrow still trained on the both of them. As Kikyu moved closer to the two and got a better look at them as she lowered her weapon, apparently Naraku abandoned the castle a week or two ago. However, this time he left illusions which fooled Kikyu, as she'd gotten to the castle almost a day ahead of Inuyasha. Kikyu, are you hurt? Inuyasha asked the Miko. Do not fuss, I am unharmed. I have searched the castle and found nothing besides discarded demon parts. So Kikyu-sama, where do you believe Naraku will show up next? Miroku asked as Kikyu turned north. Naraku's new powers are extremely worrisome. I believe Naraku is headed toward Mount Hakurei. That's impossible. A demon as evil as Naraku would surely be unable to go anywhere near Mount Hakurei, Miroku said as Kikyu began to walk away. Kikyu, wait, if Naraku is going to Mount Hakurei, then we're going there as well, so I was thinking maybe you could travel with us, Inuyasha pleaded. Instead of answering, Kikyu continued to walk away from the two until she disappeared in a rising fog, leaving Inuyasha heartbroken again. Consoling his friend the best he could, Miroku suggested they get back to the village to meet up with the girls and Shippo. As the two made their way back to the village, Miroku began to think about Naraku, Inari, and Mount Hakurei. Kikyu had to be wrong. Naraku and Mount Hakurei, as there was simply no logical explanation as to how Naraku could be anywhere near Mount Hakurei. The bulk of his thoughts centered on Inari. He actually believed the demon was a good being, as too many stories were too similar for him not to be. This of course led him to the problem of Sango. He just didn't understand her dislike for the demon. All he knew was if she faced him with an attitude she may be punished. Luckily, Miroku and Inuyasha were both quite fast and the village hadn't been that far away from location of the castle, so it wasn't a surprise to either of them. They were able to make it back to the village with 20 minutes of leaving the castle site. On their arrival, Inuyasha attempted to track the girls down in the village by their scent only to discover they weren't in the village. The pair asked around but learned the two hadn't come since they ran into the village to get Sango's weapon. With this information, Inuyasha took off following the girls' scent, which became stronger the further north they went. 10 minutes after they left the village, they came to a man-made clearing which both recognized was made by Sango's Hirekatsu. "Inuyasha, can you pick up their scents?" Miroku asked as Inuyasha attempted to do just that. "No, the scents start east then just disappear. Then east is where we have to start looking." With Naruto. "So Inuyasha and the monk are going to hunt down Inari?" This is becoming more interesting with every move. Hakadoshi continued to have the Seimyosho follow the monk and Inuyasha. Naruto explained. "What about Inari? Have them fall off from him. I noticed he glanced in their direction a couple of times, so I'm sure he knows something is following him. Then why hasn't he done anything about it? I'm not sure. He may know they can't harm anyone in his group, or the distance they've kept is enough to show they aren't threatening. Remember, he is a fox, so this might be a part of some trickery." Naruto knew he had to stall all of his pursuers, with Kikyu realizing his plan to use Mount Hakurei, forcing him to use his idea of resurrecting the Band of Seven earlier than he wanted. Of course he blamed this all on Inari because he was something he was at this time unable to game plan for. However, something good that came out of Inari's arrival was getting rid of his heart and getting Hakadoshi out of it. "Hakadoshi, gather the others, we're heading to Mount Hakurei," Naruto said to Hakadoshi, who didn't budge. "And how exactly are we going to get near Mount Hakurei, since we'll be purified if we do?" "Patience, I have a way, so gather so we can go." Sango and Kagome groaned as they slowly opened their eyes. Upon regaining their senses, the memories of what happened before they were put to sleep came rushing back to them. The two made an attempt to stand up only to find their arms and legs were tied. To make matters worse, they'd been disarmed. As they looked around, they noticed Kahaku in a clearing not 10 feet from them, showing Shippo how to use his Kuzurigama. "Kahaku, Shippo, you're alright?" Sango yelled, gaining the attention of the two boys. The two boys made their way over to Sango and Kagome, who pleaded with them to untie them, only to receive no's. Kagome was completely shocked. She could understand the no from Kahaku, as he might have been under the control of Inari. However, the no from Shippo hurt her feelings, as she looked at him as a second brother, maybe even a son. Shippo forced himself to ignore the hurt look on Kagome's face, as Inari promised him no harm would come to Sango or Kagome. "I can't believe you, Shippo, after everything Kagome and I have done for you. You won't untie us so we can save our lives," Sango said, making Shippo feel even worse. "Stop, sister, Shippo has done nothing wrong. Inari-sama isn't going to hurt you. In fact, before you showed up he was going to let me come to you to let you know I was no longer under Naruto's control." Kahaku yelled at Sango. "Because you're under his control. Enough, you've changed, sister." Sango stared at Kahaku as though someone just hit her. How could he say she'd changed when he was the one following a demon around willingly? At that moment Sango vowed she would break whatever control Inari over Kahaku, no matter what she had to do. Kagome looked at Sango, then back to Shippo and Kahaku. Neither one appeared to be acting differently, though she couldn't really speak for Kahaku. Kagome looked back to Shippo, whose eyes had filled with tears at the way the two women in his life thought of him. Kagome started to apologize, only to stop when Shippo ran away from them, crying his eyes out. Kahaku glared at the two girls before chasing after the fox demon. As Shippo ran into a forest, looked around for a place where he could just go to be alone. What Shippo ended up finding was a huge green demon. The demon proceeded to grab Shippo around the tail, feeling as though he'd betrayed his friends. Shippo didn't struggle. Instead, he simply cried as the demon lifted him toward its mouth. Shippo watched as the demon put him in its mouth, but just as its teeth came down on him, Shippo felt himself on the ground. Through watery eyes, Shippo noticed Midoriko picking him up, hugging him close to her heart while stroking his hair. "Ah, what's wrong with my little fox boy?" Midoriko asked, the sight of the boy crying breaking her heart. "KKAAGOMEE and SSSSSNNGGGO don't LLL like me anymore." Midoriko sighed as Shippo did his best to wrap his small arms around her. Midoriko saw Kahaku enter the forest, however. As he started to come over, Midoriko waved him away. 5 minutes after Kahaku left, Shippo stopped crying, although he never let go of Midoriko. Midoriko did her best to get the whole story of what happened, but Shippo kept saying he didn't want to get either of them in trouble. Midoriko couldn't help but smile at Shippo. Even though the two girls just hurt him, he still thought of them, after many promises from Midoriko that neither Sango nor Kagome would get in trouble. Shippo explained what Sango said and how disappointed Kagome was with him after he told her he wouldn't untie her. As Shippo gave his explanation, he kept his head down so he wouldn't face Midoriko. Eventually, said priestess placed her finger on his chin, guiding it upwards so they were looking in each other's eyes. Shippo, you did nothing wrong. In fact, I only know one other demon that's as strong as you, Midoriko said with a smile. Who? Why, your idol, of course. Really? In fact, when I look at you, I imagine he was just like you when he was a child. Hearing this resulted in a blush from Shippo, causing Midoriko to nuzzle Shippo's face while ignoring the fox demon's attempts to push her away. The two continued to play for a couple more hours until Midoriko thought Naruto would have made his return to their resting spot. As Midoriko and Shippo made their way back to the spot, Midoriko attempted to carry Shippo in her arms like a newborn, which Shippo would have none of. The two continued to play their game until they reached the resting spot. As they returned, the pair found Naruto and Kahaku cooking the fish Naruto left to catch earlier. When the fish was done, Naruto put some off to the side for Kagome and Sango while promising to teach Shippo his method for catching fish. As they started to eat, Naruto said he needed to get Kagome and Sango so they could eat as well, only to receive a nudge from Midoriko. Shippo jumped up from his place on Midoriko's lap before explaining if he wanted to be more like Naruto he would have to face his problems, so Shippo gave Naruto the okay to get Sango and Kagome. Midoriko looked at Shippo worried. He was attempting to take on responsibilities he didn't need to in order to be more like Naruto. It wasn't until Shippo gave her a wink did she feel slightly better about him facing the two girls. However, Midoriko did place Shippo back in his original spot on her lap just in case he caught nervous he'd know she was right there. It didn't help Shippo with the embarrassment factor when Kahaku started laughing at him. Of course that stopped when Midoriko gave Kahaku a look, resulting in Kahaku finding his fish to be the most interesting thing in the world. When Naruto returned, he had both girls over his shoulders, with Sango the only one complaining while Kagome was surprisingly quiet. Once the fish was divided up, everyone began to eat except Sango and Kagome, who refused to eat unless Kahaku or Shippo fed them. Midoriko immediately said no. However, Naruto told her they couldn't just let them starve. As they ate, Midoriko could feel the glares Sango was giving Naruto and decided to call her on it. "What's your problem, little girl?" Midoriko asked. Sango started to answer, but the words froze in her throat as she looked at the woman who asked the question. Kagome noticed the look on Sango's face, so she followed her friend's gaze to the woman she remembered was in the cave just outside the Demon Slayer's village. Sango quickly accused Naruto of bringing Midoriko back to the land of the living to be his slave, to which Midoriko laughed. "You foolish girl, he brought me back to the land of the living because I died before my time, and the most important thing, he loves me," Midoriko answered, stunning everyone except Kirara. "Impossible, he's evil," Sango responded. "Evil is he? Tell me, would someone evil train me, have a special night with me, then tell me I couldn't stay with him because I was destined to help humans?" "Midoriko, what do you mean by a special night?" Shippo asked, causing Naruto and Midoriko to blush. "I'll explain it to you when you're older, Shippo." Sango stared at Naruto in disbelief. She couldn't believe what Midoriko just said. However, Sango was positive Midoriko wasn't under any demonic influence. At that moment, Sango began to understand the mistake she'd made, but to put to bed any lingering doubts about Inari, needed to know for sure. "Kagome, do you see anything demonic about Midoriko?" Sango asked, almost praying Kagome found something. "No, she's clean." "Demon eye. His name is Inari-sama, sister," Kahaku said. "Inari, I'm sorry for accusing you without any proof. My brother and Shippo tried to tell me you weren't evil and I refused to listen. Shippo, I'm sorry for treating you so badly earlier. Kahaku, I should have listened to you. It's just everything that happened with Naraku. Then Hakadoshi said you were under Inari's control. I was just tired of my brother being used as a pawn." "Shippo, I'm sorry too, I shouldn't have gotten upset with you," Kagome said, slightly jealous of Midoriko. "Don't worry about it. Kahaku has actually been helping me and Midoriko out quite a bit. It's been such a very long time since we've been in the world, we needed someone to guide us," Naruto explained as he untied the two girls. "So where are you heading?" Sango asked while looking at Kahaku. We are going north. You can't. If you keep going north you'll head directly to Mount Hakurei. Inari-sama, you, Kirara, and me can't go to Mount Hakurei without being purified, Shippo explained. Midoriko chuckled, causing everyone's attention toward her, especially if she and Naruto were in love. Why would she laugh at him being purified? Midoriko-chan, why are you laughing? Shippo asked. I'm sorry Shippo-kun, it's just what you just said was funny. What do you mean funny? Kagome asked. Naruto can't be purified. Sango's mouth dropped while the piece of fish she was eating fell out. Kahaku suddenly had bug eyes and Shippo simply stared over at Naruto, not as surprised since he believed his idol could do anything. Kagome stared at Naruto hoping she could tell if Midoriko could tell the truth. However, Kagome soon noticed something strange about Naruto's demonic aura. Naruto noticed Kagome was staring at him. Looked into her eyes, the two having a silent conversation when Kagome realized what was different about Naruto. You used to be human, Kagome blurted out. It's been so long ago I don't even remember what it's like. Why didn't you tell me? Midoriko asked. It just slipped my mind. Midoriko's right though, one time during a training session years ago she hit me with a purification arrow and nothing happened. Not to change the subject, but I was wondering if Kahaku was going with you. Sango asked. You still don't get if Kahaku wanted to leave right now he can. Sango turned to Kahaku, excited about being reunited with no strings attached to her brother. The excitement turned to sorrow as Sango noticed a look in her brother's eyes. Sister, I love you, but for the moment I feel my place is by Inari-sama's side, Kahaku explained, hoping Sango would understand. And my place is beside you, Sango retorted. Sango, what are you saying? Kagome asked. If you'll let me, I wish to travel with you. I don't know, our group seems like it's getting bigger every day. Besides, don't you have friends who might miss you? Naruto reminded. Sango stared at Kagome while her thoughts drifted to Inuyasha and Miroku. Sango cared for her friends. Out of all of them she knew she'd miss Kagome the most. Though from day one she made her goal clear and everyone knew of it. I will miss them, but my place is with my brother. Fine, I'll take the rest of you back to your friends tomorrow, Naruto said. I want to stay as well, Shippo yelled out. Well, he's not going anywhere. No way Midoriko's going to let me get rid of him. Kagome started to say something hoping it would change Shippo's mind, but in the end knew she couldn't. Inari was Shippo's idol. Plus, Shippo developed a quick bond with Midoriko. Kagome knew everything was changing. After tomorrow she'd be separated from 3 of her friends. Look, let's just get some sleep, and if you all feel the same way tomorrow then we'll discuss it, Naruto said. With this everyone finished their food before going to bed. Sango moved close to her brother. Kagome moved with Sango, Kirara snuggled with Kahaku, while Midoriko held Shippo with Naruto holding Midoriko. As Naruto lay with Midoriko he glanced over everyone there. If Naruto was honest with himself, he didn't want his group to become too big because it meant more people to worry about. Another problem for Naruto was Sango. He realized she cared for her brother. However, Sango was quick to anger, especially when demons were involved. Naruto also knew there had to be a clear leader. Kahaku realized Naruto was the leader and Midoriko would follow Naruto anywhere. It was easy for Naruto to image Sango fighting him on things she felt would be too dangerous for her brother. Still, Naruto smirked. He'd deal with these problems as they arose, allowing his experience of different situations to handle any problems which would cross his path. Naruto awoke with the break of dawn, his senses allowing him to tell when the shift between night and day began. Sitting up, Naruto stroked Midoriko's hair, causing her to moan while pulling Shippo closer to her face. Naruto quickly downed the leftover fish. Then started his cleanup, which he halted as a familiar scent hit his nose. The scent, riding on the winds of the west, caused his eyes to turn black before resuming their normal color. The instant they did, Naruto ran westward, determined to find the source of the scent. Using his speed, Naruto ran into a clearing 2 miles from the rest site. As Naruto entered the clearing, he saw a white-haired woman wearing regal robes with fur wrapped around her shoulders, ember eyes, and a moon-shaped crescent on her forehead, facing him with her head turned. When she turned completely around, she saw Naruto staring at her the same way he did when they first met. Well, the great Inari, what do I owe this pleasant surprise? The woman asked. Inukimi, you bitch, I should crush your throat. For what? Not following your orders when it came to my child. I am Inukimi, made of Inuyasha. I do what I want when I want. Naruto roared as he again used his speed, this time to cover the distance between himself and Inukimi. Naruto grabbed her by the throat. the two still moving until Inukimi's body hit a tree which splintered upon impact. Inukimi grabbed at Naruto's hand hoping her poison claws would force him to let her go. This would have been a good idea if her claws could pierce his skin. Don't forget who taught your mate every single thing he knew, little girl. The only reason you're still alive is because my student loved you. However, he would be disappointed with the way you raised Sesshomaru. Inukimi, taking all this abuse, decided to defend herself. I raised my son to be like his fat. Inukimi was stopped mid-sentence when Naruto increased the pressure on her neck. Finish that sentence and you'll be joining my student in the afterlife. Tell me why you didn't raise him. Really, it's not like I could have stopped you. Better, why didn't you raise Sesshomaru's half-breed brother? I always found that amusing about you, Inukimi. Even when facing death you're disrespectful to the end. You're not going to kill me. If you were, you'd have done it centuries ago. With this, Inukimi began to laugh, albeit strained, while still gripping at Naruto's arm, tired of the constant attitude he received from Inukimi. Naruto knocked her out just as he did with Sango and Kagome before tossing Inukimi over his shoulder. As Naruto made his way back to the rest site, a smile crossed his face. It seemed as though he would get to meet his student's youngest child all grown up. At the rest site, Midoriko awoke feeling slightly cold. She soon realized the reason for this was Naruto wasn't holding her. As she sat up, Midoriko, she noticed Shippo twitching slightly in his sleep, which she found cute. Looking around, Midoriko noticed the fish was gone, causing her to shake her head at Naruto and his antics. Once Midoriko woke everyone up, she told them to gather their things. Before asking anyone who made a decision last night if they'd changed their mind, Sango and Shippo both expressed their interest in staying again. The latter of the two Midoriko was ecstatic about. As they gathered their things, Midoriko sensed a second demonic aura much larger than Shippo's heading toward them. However, there was something odd about the aura. Turning toward the direction the aura was coming from, Midoriko watched a half-demon and what she figured to be a monk jump out of the forest. Miroku, Inuyasha, you're here, Kagome said as Midoriko stared at the two new arrivals. What the heck are? Inuyasha started, only to stop as Miroku directed his attention to Midoriko. Excuse me, but might I ask who you are? Miroku questioned. Isn't it obvious? Midoriko responded, still getting used to waking up. You're the bitch in the stalagmite that threw me out of that cave. As Inuyasha finished his statement, a sword flew by his head, cutting his cheek while taking some hair with it. Inuyasha looked at the sword embedded in the tree behind him, then turned around to see Midoriko had an arrow lined up with his head. Having been challenged in battle, Inuyasha drew Tetsuzaiga to get a little bit of payback on Midoriko. Midoriko ducked a swing of Tetsuzaiga, then created some distance. With distance, she fired an arrow at Inuyasha's feet, causing the ground to explode. As Inuyasha hit the ground, he watched Midoriko swipe her hand over the mirror on her belt, resulting in an axe appearing, which she attacked Inuyasha with. Midoriko used her spiritual powers to surround and strengthen her axe, allowing her to weaken the demonically powered Tetsuzaiga with every strike. Inuyasha knocked Midoriko to the ground only to have his feet kicked out from under him, allowing Midoriko to get back to her feet and free her sword from the tree. Inuyasha growled as Midoriko came at him with her two weapons. The biggest reason Inuyasha was upset was Midoriko's spiritual power kept cancelling out Tetsuzaiga's transformation. Eventually, Inuyasha was forced to use his Blades of Blood and Iron Reaver Soul Stealer, though neither of these attacks worked because of the control Midoriko had over her spiritual powers. Midoriko would simply create a bubble of spiritual energy around herself to deflect Inuyasha's demonic attacks. Frustrated, he couldn't use any of Tetsuzaiga's attacks because Midoriko didn't possess a demonic aura. With nowhere else to turn, Inuyasha attacked wildly with his claws, which didn't help him as Midoriko defeated him without the use of Tetsuzaiga. I don't know why you attacked me, but I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to let him deal with you, Midoriko said to Inuyasha as Naruto came into the clearing. Who is that, some weak demon? Inuyasha asked. You recognize her, kiddo? Naruto asked, directing Inuyasha's attention to the woman on his shoulder. Inuyasha, who is she? Miroku asked. Inukimi, she's my stepmother. Everyone stared at the unconscious woman except Midoriko. She was smiling at the look on Naruto's face as he dropped Inukimi to the ground roughly. Naruto, ignoring Midoriko, made his way over to Inuyasha, who stood up. So I'm some weak demon, am I? If you think of me like that, maybe I shouldn't have saved you from those demons when you were younger, Naruto said as Inuyasha's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about, old man? You never saved me. Sure, I did remember you were being chased through the forest by a pack of demons, you hid under the ledge of a cliff. Tell me how long you waited to come up. Inuyasha thought back to the night in question. Inuyasha remembered every part of the night the demon in front of him spoke of. However, one thing always stuck out to him about that night. He never climbed back up to the top. He eventually cried himself to sleep, and when he woke up he was against one of the trees in the forest. Inuyasha stared at the demon in front of him in shock. Sorry it took me so long to help you out, I was distracted by this, shall we say, woman, Naruto explained as he kicked Inukimi on the side. Wait, you're saying you saved Inuyasha when he was a child? Miroku slightly questioned. Of course, you know his father was my student. From what I've seen both his sons remind me of him in same way, but that's a story for another time. We need to get moving to Mount Hakurei. I'm staying with my brother, just as I said I would last night, Sango blurted out, surprising Inuyasha and more importantly Miroku. If Sango's staying, I'm staying as well, Miroku said, causing Naruto to cough. This is what I was concerned about the moment Sango said she wanted to travel with our group. Shippo and Kirara coming with us isn't a big deal. Midoriko can watch over Shippo and Kahaku can keep him company. However, there might come a time where a decision is made you don't agree with, and I can't have you disrupting the foundations of this group, Naruto explained. Are you trying to keep me and my brother apart? Sango asked. I'm saying I don't want too many people in my group. Before today there were 3, now there are 7, that's too much. Sango quickly bargained with Naruto. She offered that only she joins his group along the Shippo and Kirara. Miroku jumped in, restating his case that he would join if Sango did. Kagome then suggested that they join groups, which Naruto quickly shot down again. Sango turned to Miroku, telling him, when she first joined the group, she made sure they all knew her goal was going after Naruto for killing her brother. She later added freeing Kahaku to that list, but now that he was free she just needed to kill Naruto. Naruto's side then laid the law down in terms of who could join. He would allow Sango to join and no one else. Sango apologized to Miroku if this hurt him. She then made her way to Kagome, giving the only other female in her former group a hug. Sango gave a nod of respect to Inuyasha before moving to stand with her brother. Shippo also gave Kagome a hug before sticking his tongue out at Inuyasha. Naruto looked over the group in semi-acceptance. He was still irked about the problems Sango could potentially cause, but he would ignore it. Naruto nodded to Inuyasha's group before grabbing Inukimi's foot, dragging the female dog demon as he walked toward the direction of Mount Hakurei. Midoriko, confused as to why Naruto had so many problems with the woman who was currently getting drugged through mud. Naruto explained to Midoriko that she was the mate of his first student, surprising Midoriko as she had no idea Naruto had a student before her. As they walked, Naruto could sense Inuyasha's group following them. When he confronted them, they explained they were going after Naruto and they were already on the path, so it made no sense to go a different way. Eventually, Naruto relented, allowing them to travel with them until they reached Mount Hakurei. Naruto told them, however, that no matter what happened after Mount Hakurei they would not be traveling together. As Naruto addressed Inuyasha's group, Inukimi opened her eyes. Sitting up, she looked around, noticing humans and, in her opinion, weak-level demons. Her eyes would soon fall on 2 people that made her blood boil. The first obviously being Naruto. The very thought of him made her want to bring her lover back to life and rip his throat out. The second being Inuyasha. As he was the constant reminder of her lover's infidelity in her mind, the world wasn't big enough for the 2 of them. As Inukimi stood up, she noticed dirt and mud on her beautiful clothing. However, what almost made her almost transform was the fact she could feel dirt in her hair. Angry, though still rational enough to understand she couldn't take down Naruto, Inukimi launched herself at Inuyasha, hoping to take her anger out on the poor half-demon that happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. With incredible speed to everyone except Naruto and to a certain extent Midoriko, Inukimi slammed Inuyasha into a tree. Inukimi made a move to rip out her stepson's throat, only to be stopped by what seemed to be the bane of her existence. The female dog demon had known Naruto long enough to know when he was playing or not. She could tell had she moved her hand any closer to Inuyasha, she'd be ash before the half-demon was hurt in any way. I hate you, Inukimi said as she turned to Naruto, who smirked at her. Payback. If it wasn't for you, Inuyasha would never have challenged Rokutsusei. I told him that I would deal with Rokutsusei or to wait until I finished the training we'd started. But you had to get in his head all because of your jealousy, Naruto said, resulting in a howl of anger from Inukimi. Don't you dare speak of that. Don't tell me what to speak, puppy, I'll tell everyone here the whole story. Inukimi opened her mouth to say something only to get a look from Naruto telling her to test him. Inukimi started to leave only to be grabbed on the shoulder by Naruto. The fox demon told Inukimi that if she left his lips might get a little loose. Naruto then instructed Inukimi that she would be traveling with him until he'd had enough of presences. Again Inukimi wanted to argue only to be stopped in her tracks. With a growl Inukimi started to walk only to be stopped again by Naruto, who explained she'd never been punished for trying to kill Inuyasha when he was a child. Inukimi immediately yelled she would never apologize for doing what needed to be done. Naruto allowed a large smile to spread over his face and surprisingly agreed with her. However, an apology to Inuyasha seemed like heaven compared to what Naruto did next. Naruto would take out a long rope then tie it loosely around Inukimi's neck. Naruto then told her to walk. Inukimi, stunned that someone would actually do this to her, began to move as though she'd been hypnotized. Inuyasha, like his stepmother, couldn't believe what was happening. Myoga told him stories of how Inukimi could stand up to his father in power, thus making Inuyasha extremely wary of Naruto. To completely own Inukimi like this meant his power must be unbelievable. Midoriko, interested in why Naruto was doing this, decided to get some answers. Naruto, what's going on? Naruto gave Midoriko a small smile before pulling her into him and giving her a long kiss. When the kiss was over, Midoriko sighed then leaned against Naruto. I don't mind telling stories while we walk. Hey kiddo, if you want to hear a story about your old man you'd been move closer. I'll let you all know why I dislike the pathetic demon in front of me so much. Flashback. Naruto sat outside of a hut yawning and eating Pocky. He remembered Itachi used to give him some wherever he'd take him to the third Hokage. The two would always munch on separate pieces together before going to see the old man. Naruto could feel multiple presences leave the hut. Using his speed, Naruto easily made his way in the hut to see a beautiful pregnant woman with long black hair looking at the floor sadly. However, when she looked up, her sadness disappeared as her lover's teacher was standing in front of her. The first time she saw him, he appeared to her as a fox kit. Of course, her believed that he was a normal fox, and his cuteness caused her to snuggle him against her breasts. When he eventually transformed, he told her she had nothing to be ashamed of. With a wink added, her beloved Inuyasha would explain who he was. The urge to slap him was quickly replaced with a bow. To her he was odd, but Inuyasha thought the world of him. In fact, when she and Inuyasha were alone, he told her he looked at Inari as his father. Inari-sama, how are you? Please forgive me for not bowing, the woman said. I never wanted you to bow to me in the first place, Azaoi. Now how is that kid coming along? Naruto questioned. It's good, very active. Actually, Inuyasha told me you could tell me the gender. He told me you told him the gender of his first child. He told me he doesn't want to know the gender of this one. That's why I'm here. All I need to do is touch your stomach and I'll be able to tell you. Naruto touched Azaoi's stomach, then after 5 minutes he took his hand away from her stomach. He then told her she was going to have a boy. Her very own Inuyasha running around getting into trouble just like his father. Azaoi smiled shyly then asked Naruto if he would look out for her son. Naruto gave her a nod then suggested that he give her a gift through Inuyasha. Naruto gave Azaoi a pat on the head resulting in a blush from the princess. Before leaving, Naruto quickly made his way out of the village toward the western lands. With his speed he arrived 15 minutes after he left Azaoi. Upon arrival at Inuyasha's home, Naruto walked in to see his student surrounded by the demons who lived on his land. With a shout of, "Sensei," the demons knew it was time to leave. I didn't think you would make it, Sensei, Inuyasha said, only to receive a slap on the head from Naruto. Baka, did I not tell you I would be here? When have you ever known me to go back on my word? Naruto questioned hotly. Never, Sensei. That's right, now why am I here? A couple of things, Sensei. First, I believe Sesshomaru is prepared to face you in order to test his powers. Second, my subjects were just telling me how concerned they were with Rokutsusei. I've been trying to decide whether or not I should deal with him. Good thing I got here in time to help you out. You won't be facing Rokutsusei. But Sensei, I'm ready. I've worked on everything you've showed me. Look, you may be an important demon now, but I am still your teacher, the demon who knows your skills better than you do, and I just don't think you're ready yet. Inuyasha was about to give in when he heard a voice from behind him. I think he's ready, and as one of the demons who lives in this lands, I believe Rokutsusei should be taken care of as soon as possible. Inuyasha turned around to see Inukimi standing behind his throne. Inukimi nodded to Inuyasha, who smiled at her in return. His mate had been extremely sore at him, when she found out about Izayoi, however. Now it seemed like she was prepared to stand by his side when he would need it her most. You see, Sensei Inukimi thinks I'm Rie. Inuyasha noticed his sensei's eyes flash gold. Then he had both himself and Inukimi pinned against the closest wall by their necks. First, don't you ever contradict me again, you, or I'll cover the world with your ashes. Second, I don't feel comfortable about you facing Rokutsusei, so you won't. This is my decree. As your sensei, disobey it at your own peril. Naruto walked off to find Sesshomaru while Inuyasha roared in anger. The dog demon couldn't believe that his sensei didn't have faith in him, the one demon above all the rest who he took on as a student. Inukimi watched as thousands of thoughts ran through her mate's head. She had lived long enough to read any demon with the exception of Naruto. Right now her readings told her that Inuyasha wanted to prove to his teacher, the demon he idolized, that he was worthy of his attention. Do not pout, my love, simply go out and destroy Rokutsusei, then your master will see that he has made a mistake. Inukimi cooed. You want me to disrespect my master? Inuyasha roared. No, I want you to show him that you are a more capable demon than he gives you credit for. Tell me, do you wish to bring a child into a world where Rokutsusei roams? He might destroy the child just as a warning to you. But I've never gone against sensei before. When we explain it to him, he will understand. You are protecting your land, your pride, and most importantly you are protecting your family. Inuyasha stormed out of the throne room. He then made his way to his armory and grabbed Tetsusaiga. However, as he grabbed Tenseiga, the sword refused to move from the wall it was on. Inuyasha paused for a moment as he looked at Tenseiga and wondered if the sword was trying to tell him to listen to his sensei, still pumped up from Inukimi's speech. Inuyasha overpowered Tenseiga before leaving the castle, his mate smiling in the background as she watched him off. Meanwhile, Naruto entered the courtyard to find Sesshomaru waiting for him. The moment he saw the boy, Naruto growled. This was not what he'd envisioned for the first child of his student. I see you've grown, young puppy, but what makes you think you're prepared to take me on? Naruto said. When father was actually paying attention to me before he left mother to be with that human, he trained me to face you in combat. He told me it would be the most defining moment in my life. However, all I see before me is an old demon who would be lucky to lay a finger on me. Do you want me to kill you? Naruto asked with a chuckle. As Naruto prepared to test Sesshomaru, he felt something he'd been dreading since he heard of Rokutsusei, that being his student fighting him. Turning around, Naruto began to make his way to where Rokutsusei was before he could hurt Inuyasha. However, the moment he turned, he felt Sesshomaru move toward him. Already enraged, his student didn't listen to him, turned around and punched Sesshomaru in the jaw with such force he was actually afraid he'd broken the boy's neck. Realizing he couldn't leave Sesshomaru in the condition he was in, Naruto healed him with his power, while making sure Sesshomaru didn't remember anything about this. Naruto quickly left Sesshomaru laying before heading out the courtyard. When he arrived in the throne room, he noticed Inukimi sitting on Inuyasha's throne. Naruto, figuring Inukimi had something to do with Inuyasha disobeying him, formed a Rasengan and hit Inukimi on the midsection with it. It had been centuries since he last used the jutsu, but it just seemed to be fitting. Naruto ignored Inukimi's smoking midsection and now topless appearance in favor of chasing after Inuyasha. When he arrived at the battle, he noticed the two large creatures clawing and biting each other. From where Naruto could see, Inuyasha was definitely getting the worst of the encounter, though Rokutsusei was far from fresh. Naruto was tempted to transform, kill Rokutsusei, then step on Inuyasha until he begged for mercy, but he chose not to. His instincts as a teacher nearly kicked in a couple of times as his student was knocked to the ground several times. Each time it appeared harder for him to get back up. As Naruto continued to watch the battle, his anger rose. Naruto knew there was no possible way for Inuyasha to stop Rokutsusei unless he used a sealing technique he'd taught him 100 years ago. Naruto watched Inuyasha hit the ground for a 10th time, however, he wasn't getting back up. Naruto expected this to be the end of his student until Rokutsusei did something which angered him to no end. About villains. That's right, Rokutsusei began to monologue about what Inuyasha's death was going to be like and how he proved him with nice entertainment. This of course allowed Inuyasha to regain enough strength to pierce Rokutsusei's heart with his claw. Naruto watched as Rokutsusei fell back against a rock formation. At first glance, Naruto didn't think Inuyasha had pierced Rokutsusei's heart. However, upon a closer look, Naruto realized Inuyasha just barely got enough of Rokutsusei's heart to seal him. Normally you'd have to get almost the middle of the heart. However, With Rukitsusei so exhausted from fighting he was weak enough for the claw to keep him sealed, Inuyasha immediately laid down still in his true form. He began to wonder how he was going to explain his wounds to his sensei. With as injured as he was, there was no way he could stand up to his teacher. Not to say he could if he wasn't injured, but at least then he could take the punishment he'd be sure to receive. Looking around, Inuyasha saw the one person he feared in the entire world looking up at him. Not wanting to seem like he was lording over his sensei, Inuyasha transformed back to his human-like form. Inuyasha stumbled toward his teacher, who simply stared at him. The two were no more than 2 feet away from one another. Inuyasha took another step only to have his legs give out on him, causing him to fall. This wasn't something new to Inuyasha, as he'd been tired after finishing training with his teacher thousands of times. However, those times when he fell, his sensei would catch him. This time his sensei stepped to his left, allowing his student to hit the ground face first. "I told you, you weren't ready, you just became powerful enough to defeat that panther demon," Naruto said, not enough looking at his student as he addressed him. "But Sensei ID." Inuyasha started only to be grabbed by the neck and lifted off the ground. "You did nothing. If Rukitsusei didn't like to hear himself talk, you'd be dead already." Naruto threw Inuyasha to the ground, his anger at a level it hadn't been at in years. "Go home, get your wounds treated. What about Izayoi and the child? As punishment for disobeying me, you will not be permitted to see the birth of your child. I will bring Izayoi and the child to you after the birth has taken place." Inuyasha roared in anger at his sensei, who simply vanished in a swirl of fire. Inuyasha willed himself to his feet. He knew he'd brought this on himself. However, this was a punishment from his sensei he would not accept. Inuyasha knew that disobeying his sensei a second time could result in a painful death, but it was worth to see his child and Izayoi. Inuyasha took off, needing to see his eldest son first. Flashback over. "Did you teach me any of the same things you taught Inuyasha?" Midoriko asked. "Of course he didn't. My old man was a demon. There is no way you could do any of the same things he could," Inuyasha said, earning him a glare from Midoriko. "Every student is different, Midoriko. For you to be powerful I had to teach you certain things," Naruto answered, attempting to defuse the situation between his lover and his first student's son. The group was still stunned at the story while Inukimi scoffed. Inuyasha began wondering why his mother had never mentioned Inari to him, seeing his story had taken a good deal of time up. Naruto asked Kahaku where they were. Kahaku told him they were about halfway to the Mount Hakurei. Naruto noticed Inuyasha was still in deep thought, decided this would be as good a time as any to get some information about the kid. Naruto told everyone to continue moving north except Inuyasha and Inukimi, who was still on her leash. "Inuyasha, I want to hear from you on your life when you were a child," Naruto demanded from the young half-demon. Normally Inuyasha would tell anyone wanting to know about his life to mind their own business. However, he was now a firm believer that this was the demon who trained his father. Even with his father's fang angering Naruto wouldn't be wise. "I was alone, not much else you need to know," Inuyasha answered. "What happened to your mother?" "None of your business, you old relic." "Inuyasha, if you're going to get over this you need to talk about your mother." "What do you want me to say?" "She was sad all the time because of me, and then those demons chased me. Mother tried to protect me, but her." Inukimi giggled only to stop when Naruto hit her on the head. "She was attacked by those demons that knocked her off a cliff while I just hid in the bushes like a coward, too scared to help my own mother. So that's what happened to her. I hope he doesn't do something crazy like attack me when he finds out about her," Naruto thought as he wrapped an arm around Inuyasha. Naruto started to console Inuyasha only to stop when he sensed a shard of the scared jewel, deciding it would be best to take care of this by himself. Since only Midoriko and to lesser extent Kahaku knew why they were searching for the jewel in the first place, Naruto knew that he couldn't leave Inuyasha with Inukimi or she'd rip him apart. So Naruto took out some ink and a paintbrush, then drew a seal on Inukimi's neck. For hand signs later, Inukimi dropped to a knee panting. "Inuyasha, I've sealed some of Inukimi's power. At the moment she is no stronger than you. Take her back to the group and tell them I'll be along shortly." Inuyasha opened his mouth only to stop when Naruto vanished in a yellow flash. Naruto arrived at an open field to see a behemoth trying to squash the wolf demon he took the shards from. To his left he could hear whimpering. When he looked over he saw the 2 wolf demons who tried to stop him from taking the shards from Koga. The moment he looked at them they jumped in fear. "Oh no, he's looking at us, Hakaku," Jinta yelled. "Shut up, what is that thing?" Naruto questioned. "We don't know, all we know is it has a shard of the jewel, so Koga is attempting to take to replace the ones you and your lady friend took. Naruto heard enough. Using his speed he sliced the behemoth's arm clean off his body. Koga looked around to see who did what he'd been trying for 30 minutes to do. When he saw Naruto he growled under his breath, "Where did you come from and how did you sever my arm?" The behemoth asked. "Answer my question and I'll answer yours. Who are you?" Naruto asked. "I am Kayakatsu and I am a member of the Band of Seven." Naruto looked at Kayakatsu with a smirk. "You mean you were a member?" Kayakatsu was unable to react as Naruto again used his speed this time to cut the Band of Seven members' head off. As the body fell Naruto caught the head then ripped the jewel shard out of the forehead causing his head and the body to rapidly decay. "Hey, that's my jewel shard!" Koga yelled at Naruto who walked away. "You should have defeated him and got before I arrived. I swear you kids always trying to look good instead of getting the job done," Naruto said only to be cut off by Koga. "Just give me the shard and I won't have to hurt you." Naruto lowered and shook his head then looked back up at Koga who was preparing to attack Naruto. When Naruto looked up he took one step toward Koga who tensed then fell to his knees grasping his stomach. Koga looked up and noticed Naruto was no longer in front of him just as he passed out. Naruto decided to take his time in getting back to the group seeing as Inukimi wasn't that much of threat with the seal he put on her. With night falling Naruto figured the group would set up camp. As he made his way toward Midoriko's scent he noticed something moving in the air high above him. Curious Naruto aimed then destroyed some of the beings that were actually flying. The immediate reaction was for whatever they were carrying to fall. Naruto leapt into the air and caught a woman who looked at him. "What or who are you?" the woman asked. "Friends call me Naruto and you," Naruto answered as he put the woman down. "My name is Kikyo. Were you the one who destroyed my soul collectors? Is that what those were? Actually been a long time since I've seen a soul collector. Are you human or demon? For some reason I can't get a good read on you. You know the only reason you would need soul collectors is to maintain a body." With that last statement Kikyo realized the man before her was a demon. However, what startled her was the fact that she couldn't sense he was a demon. Kikyo lined an arrow then fired at Naruto. Kikyo wasn't surprised that she hit him. No, what surprised her was the fact that he wasn't being purified. Instead he eyed her before pulling the arrow out of his shoulder where she'd hit him. Naruto looked at Kikyo only to stop when he noticed small bits of souls slowly leaking from her body. "How is it you weren't purified?" Kikyo asked as Naruto smiled. "Do you really think a cute priestess like you could purify the great Inari?" Kikyo froze as Naruto said Inari. That would explain why she couldn't purify him. She'd heard the stories of Inari. In fact he was one of the few reasons she didn't kill Inuyasha when he first came for the jewel. Kikyo knew she shouldn't be in awe of a demon. However, now that she was face to face with the demon of legend she couldn't help it. Kikyo was thrust from her thoughts when she heard Naruto speaking. "So Kikyo, how long has it been since you passed from this world?" Naruto asked while Kikyo lowered her head. "Over 50 years Inari-sama," Kikyo answered while Naruto placed a hand behind his head. "I can sense you have some of your original soul, but where is the rest of it?" "My soul had already been reincarnated. The only reason I'm able to move is because like you said I have a part of my original soul. I can help you. I have a technique that will be able to recreate the rest of your soul, then we can move that soul into a recently deceased body which will take on your soul's form." Kikyo couldn't believe what she just heard. Inari could give her a chance to live again. She didn't need any time to think about it. Kikyo agreed. Naruto told her he would have to take care of some business at Mount Hakurei first. However, once he was finished he'd take her back to his home to perform the ritual. Naruto suggested that she stay away from any battle until she was in a new living body. Kikyo asked where she should go to meet him, to which Naruto responded now that he had her scent there was no place in the world she could hide from him. Kikyo nodded then bowed before making her back the way she'd come. Naruto decided it was time to get back to the group, so using his speed he got the group's location within minutes. Upon his arrival he noticed the two groups separated with hostility filling the air. Clearing his throat, Inuyasha's group turned their attention to him as did Sango. Naruto held up a shard of the jewel to Midoriko who smiled. However, Miroku and Inuyasha demanded that he hand the jewel shard to them. Naruto instead gave the shard to Midoriko. The instant it touched her hand the part of her soul that was in the shard made its way into her body while the demon that also inhabited the shard was instantly destroyed. "What happened? Where did the jewel shard go?" Miroku asked. The jewel shard was simply Priestess Midoriko's soul combined with a demon's soul, so when she touches the jewel or its shard she getting her soul back on piece at a time. Without her soul the jewel can't exist, Kahaku answered. Plus if you want to make sure demons don't get a hold of it, well this is the best way. The instant I used the shard from Kahaku to resurrect Midoriko there was no chance of the jewel ever becoming complete again, Naruto added on. Inuyasha's group sat wide-eyed, the explanation they were given made sense, with that Kagome gave Midoriko the few shards that her group had, once Midoriko finished integrating the pieces of her soul. Naruto tossed her a kunai which she covered with her spiritual energy. Midoriko then launched the kunai at a tree which it went through while repeating the action with the next 5 trees in a row behind it. Midoriko smirked. With every bit of her soul she took back. Her spiritual powers were 5 times strong than they were the last time she wielded them. Naruto took a seat next to Midoriko while Shippo and Kirara occupied his shoulders. Looks like getting the jewel shards from this Naraku won't be easy, Kahaku, Naruto said to the confused boy. Why not Inari-sama? I met that wolf whose shards I took the last time I met him. Wait, wolf, you mean Koga? You took his jewel shards, how is he supposed to survive without them? Kagome questioned Naruto. The same way he did before he got them, Midoriko answered for Naruto. Look, Kagome, was it? The jewel is Midoriko's property, end of story. I could have killed the wolf but I didn't. Today he was foolish enough to stand in my path and I didn't kill him. Now as I was saying, the wolf was fighting an undead human brought to life by power of the jewel shard. Before I killed him he told me he was a part of the band of 7, Naruto explained. Must be here to do Naraku's dirty work for him, Inuyasha added. Don't tell me the big bad Inari is afraid of humans, Inukimi taunted. So do you think this band of 7 will attack us? Shippo asked while Naruto nodded. But it's more than that, Shippo. For a member to be here I think Naraku has positioned them to prevent people from getting to the mountain. So you think the closer we get to Mount Hakurai the more likelihood that we will be attacked? Miroku asked. You all make sure to get some rest. I was going to stay and make sure this dog didn't get naughty after everyone was asleep anyway. Everyone nodded, lying down while Naruto grabbed Inukimi's leash from Inuyasha. Once Naruto was sure everyone was asleep he waved Inukimi over to him. The dog demon ignored him only to have her leash pulled. With a growl Inukimi stood up to make her way over to Naruto, only to be told to stop. Naruto instructed her to crawl over to him on her hands and knees. Knowing the fox demon would inform the entire world of her secret, Inukimi did as she was told. Why won't you leave me alone, you old perverted fox? Inukimi asked a little loud than intended. Now you make it seem like I was the one who had a crush on you, Naruto said, getting Inukimi to actually blush. I was a young girl in awe of your presence, but I have changed now. Naruto stared at Inukimi before grabbing her breast through her clothes, drawing a moan from Inukimi. Naruto used his free hand to reach her pants and tease her clit, causing her to fall against him while panting uncontrollably. Inukimi hated the fact that he had this power over. Centuries ago when she first told him that she loved him he smiled and patted her on the head. Sure, he teased her like he was doing at that moment, but he would never take her the way she wanted him to. As Inukimi leaned against him she glared at Midoriko, who was resting on his right side. What did that priestess have that she didn't? Inukimi's big secret that Naruto knew was she never loved Inutasho. She really believes that was the reason that Naruto disliked her so. She had played his student and by association she had played him. Please take me here and now, your power is keeping them asleep, so there is no chance they will know, Inukimi said, causing Naruto stop. I do this for a reason, Inukimi, to make sure you understand that at any time I chose I could take you. I chose not to at his time. Don't you want? What is it you foxes call them, kits? I can give you many to help carry on your legacy. Once Midoriko has all of her soul back she too will give me many kits. As for my legacy I think it will be just fine. Naruto released the seal on Inukimi's neck then told her to leave. Frustrated, Inukimi retied her kimono then left the campsite, not one time looking at Naruto. Said Fox Demon sighed. He felt he had to punish Inukimi. It might seem cruel punishing her for so long, however, she was demon, her lifespan was a lot longer than a human's. She was already over 3,000 years old. He would eventually stop teasing her and give her what she wanted. Sure, Naruto just wanted to see how long she would keep coming back. So far she was doing well. She'd been coming over 600 years now. Naruto's focus at this moment was getting Midoriko back to full strength, which started tomorrow. What Naruto didn't tell the group was he could feel the evil intentions of what he assumed to be the Band of Seven. If they held their position and his group continued to move toward them, tomorrow would be a day of battle. The thought caused Naruto to smile. It had been a long time since he'd fought in an actual war.